Hey, hey, can you guys hear me? Can you see me all right? Let me know. Tipsy, what's up? I know it's early here. It's an early stream for us today. I usually go on later and we do Melly After Dark, but I was cleaning and doing my thing and I was about to work out and like it was just, a Friday. And of course, new Diddy documents. And I've covered the indictment that he had recently. We did like a read through on that. And then now today we have a new complaint released by Jane Doe. And I got my hands on it. I don't know how many people do. I did provide it to some other channels this morning that wanted the document. I do have it. I paid for it. So reach out if you want to look it over. We're going to do a read through. It's quite a few pages. It's like maybe 14, which I think was the first indictment. And we got through that pretty quick. I'm a quick reader and we kind of discuss it and just go through it. I'm going to share it on my screen. We're going to do a read through. We'll comment. I personally, I was always a Diddy fan back in the day and like a Biggie and Tupac fan in the 90s. So I have been following this. And I think this new Jane Doe complaint speaks for itself. And so we're just going to read it. I'm going to start. I'm going to pull it up. Let me make sure. There we go. I was like, I don't see what you're seeing. And this was filed as of yesterday, 9/26, and it became available this morning. I had to go through my people and find it. It was a little difficult. Let me say hi to everyone. It's just a few of us here. That's fine. The smaller the group, the less nervous I am. My mod, Tipsy, what's up, girl? You're amazing. Jojo, love you. I know you're working. Appreciate you. Hey, Mike, what's up? Lily, beautiful Lily. I know. We usually do Melly After Dark. If you don't know, now you know. Hi, my name's Melly. I cover true crime, real life stuff, controversial stuff on my channel. And I'm not new to the YouTubes. I've been a mod forever and welcome. Everyone's welcome here, no matter your past, present, no matter what you plan to do in the future. We are just a welcoming community. Everyone here is amazing, loving people. Everyone in my chat I can vouch for. And it's just good vibes. Hate crime to remember. Love you, Lily. Hope you're having a good day at work. All right, let's get through this. We all know we've been hearing a lot about Diddy. This is the newest complaint. I got my hands on it. I'm going to read through it. I'm a fast reader, so let's get to it. The person filing this complaint was Jane Doe. She did not want to provide her name. And it is against Sean Combs, Bad Boy Records, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him. Love. I think that's hilarious. I'm going to be reading it off my big screen and then you guys will see it on my smaller screen. So I'm going to try to switch the pages as we go through. Let's start. Introduction. You guys can hear me and see me all right? Cool. 1. Defendant Sean Combs is a music producer and a business mogul with residence in New York, Los Angeles, Miami, and other locations, who is currently the subject of multiple lawsuits as well as a criminal investigation over his, among other crimes, abuse, assault, coercion, intimidation of women, including the plaintiff, which have occurred over many years involving numerous victims, which were also funded, facilitated, and perpetuated by his associates and his various companies. Sean Combs, Bad Boy Records, Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprise, Doe Corporations, and Doe Defendants. Plaintiff Jane Doe is a business owner, entrepreneur, and model who resides in the state of Florida. The allegations against the defendants herein began in November 2020 and continued through July of 2024, as well as times prior and subsequent thereto. Parties. At all times material to this cause of action, plaintiff Jane Doe was and is still a resident of the state of Florida, is an adult over the age of 18 and younger than the age of 55. Jane Doe brings complaint under a pseudonym because of the sensitive nature of the allegations being SEXUAL abuse. Plaintiff's fears embarrassment and further psychological damage if her identity as a victim of a sexual abuse became public knowledge. I just said it. Will YouTube ding me? Probably. Defendant Combs, upon information and belief, resides within the state of California and is a finance. Defendant Sean Combs is a finance firm with its principal place of business in New York, and on information and belief is a financial entity used to pay Ms. Doe's expenses, including travel and accommodation. Defendant Bad Boy Records is a music, media, and entertainment company founded by Combs that operates in the state of New York. The defendant of Bad Boy Entertainment is a music, media, and entertainment company founded by defendant Combs, which included the record label Bad Boy Records. Defendant Bad Boy Entertainment is a domestic corporation organized and operating under the rules of the state of New York. It does business under the name Bad Boy Records. Defendant Combs Enterprise is a New York corporation. Upon information and belief, defendant Combs is a parent company to Bad Boy Entertainment and Bad Boy Records and Bad Boy Entertainment, Inc., as alleged herein, and employs, direct, or controls the actions and omissions of the co-defendants herein. At all pertinent times, defendant Doe Corporation's true name being fictitious and unknown are corporations and other corporate entities which are part of the Sean Combs Bad Boy family corporations and which funded, facilitated, employed, and controlled the named defendants and others in their wrongful actions committed against the plaintiff. At all pertinent times, defendant John Doe, true name being fictitious and unknown, are individuals which are part of the Sean Combs Bad Boy organizations, and while acting in the scope of their relationship to defendant Combs and defendants Bad Boy Entertainment and Bad Boy Records and Bad Boy Entertainment, Inc., committed wrongful actions against the plaintiff and or facilitated, aided, or funded those actions. Facts relevant to all causes of actions. This is an action for injuries and damages suffered by Jane Doe as direct and proximate result of the defendant's wrongful conduct. Began in the fall of 2020 and continued to present. Jane Doe first met Combs in the fall of 2020 at an overseas location. Doe was invited on a trip with defendant Combs in which defendants paid for Jane Doe's transportation to and from said overseas location. In December 2020, Jane Doe and defendant Combs met again, and in early 2021, Jane Doe and defendant Combs began seeing each other regularly. Throughout 2021 and 2022, approximately once per month, defendant Combs and or his employees and agents would arrange and pay for Jane Doe's travel to defendant Combs' homes in the Los Angeles, New York, Miami, and other cities. Jane Doe would also travel with defendant Combs at his request, which defendant Combs and his or her employees would arrange, and which was paid for by Combs and one of his corporate entities. Jane Doe traveled to and with Combs, did not appear on her own volition. Combs and his agents and employees would use coercive and harassing language to compel her to comply. 𝐂𝐚𝐧 and his agents or employees would send drivers to her home to pick her up before she agreed to travel, to the point where Jane Doe did not believe she had a choice. Defendant 𝐂𝐚� and his agents and employees not only used language and tactics to force Jane Doe to act against her will, she was also unwillingly drugged with alcohol, unknown substances. In April 2022, 𝐂𝐚𝐧 forced Jane Doe to have vaginal intercourse without her consent and while she was at his home in Los Angeles. In spring of 2022, plaintiff visited 𝐂𝐚� in Miami. On one morning, she woke up and her feet were purple and bruised, and she had a bite mark on her heel. Jane Doe did not know how she sustained the injuries. In July of 2022, Jane Doe traveled at defendant 𝐂𝐚�'s command to his home in Los Angeles. While in defendant 𝐂𝐚�'s bathroom, Jane Doe was compelled to ingest an unknown substance. Jane Doe later learned it was or contained the drug ketamine, or as other substances, which caused Jane Doe to black out and lose consciousness intermittently throughout the night. Jane Doe did not consent to ingesting ketamine or other substances. Ketamine is also known for like Special K on the streets. Shortly thereafter, Jane Doe took a pregnancy test, which was positive. Jane Doe informed defendant 𝐂𝐚� of the positive test. Caresha Brownlee, defendant 𝐂𝐚�'s associate, harassed Jane Doe by repeatedly calling her and telling Jane Doe to have an abortion. Jane Doe suffered a miscarriage and did not speak to defendant 𝐂𝐚� or his team for approximately 3 months. In late 2022, 𝐂𝐚� resumed communication with Jane Doe and began compelling her to travel with him and to him. Defendant 𝐂𝐚� would harass with Jane Doe through calls, texts, and third parties until she complied. At every visit, 𝐂𝐚� would make her perform a show, quote unquote, for him and would ply her with alcohol and substances until she passed out. She would wake up with bruising and injuries with no recollection of how she sustained her injuries. This continued until July of 2024. In July of 2024, defendant 𝐂𝐚� commanded Jane Doe to his home in Miami. When Jane Doe arrived at his Miami home, 𝐂𝐚� shoved 2 pills in Jane Doe's mouth. During the July 2024 encounter, Jane Doe tried drinking water, but it tasted strange and made her feel unwell. The next morning, Jane Doe felt ill and confused and could not remember what happened the night before, and the bedroom was in disarray. Throughout the 4 years, defendant 𝐂𝐚� would consistently pressure Jane Doe, adding other men and women in the bedroom, despite Jane Doe being clear that she did not want others involved. Defendant 𝐂𝐚� would continually prompt and pressure Jane Doe into using illicit substances and giving her illicit substances without her knowledge or consent. Defendant 𝐂𝐚� would make threatening jokes to Jane Doe that caused Jane Doe to fear for her safety if she did not comply with the defendant. On occasions, Jane Doe was forced to witness 𝐂𝐚� slap and abuse other women. On multiple occasions, Jane Doe became aware that defendant 𝐂𝐚� and/or his agents were tracking her location and/or monitoring her conversations, as defendant 𝐂𝐚� would refer to statements made by Jane Doe when he was not present. She began checking her phone after each meeting with defendant 𝐂𝐚�. During their time together, defendant 𝐂𝐚� would discourage her from working. When Jane Doe would attempt to assert her independence, defendant 𝐂𝐚� would pay her an allowance, which he used to control her as she cut back on working. Jane Doe was afraid of what defendant 𝐂𝐚� would do if she said no. 𝐂𝐚� and his agents, at his request, would record sexual encounters with Jane Doe without her permission. 𝐂𝐚� and his employees and agents' actions would cause Jane Doe to have anxiety, depression, and fear for her safety. To date, defendant 𝐂𝐚� continues to contact Jane Doe and attempts to control her actions, autonomy, and would restrict her speech through harassment, intimidation, and other tactics. Defendant 𝐂𝐻𝐽 has caused Jane Doe to fear for her safety, and this is why plaintiff is requesting to file this action under a pseudonym. Accordingly, Jane Doe has suffered physical abuse, emotional abuse, trauma, injury, psychological damage, financial injury, reputational injury, and damage as a result of the defendant's intentional and negligent criminal actions. I just want to make sure you guys can still see. You guys are good. First cause of action. Plaintiff incorporates the allegations within all prior paragraphs within this complaint as if they were fully set forth herein. Plaintiff repeats and realleges each and every allegation in all of the preceding paragraphs as it if fully set forth herein. The above described conduct of defendant 𝐂𝐻𝐽, including but not limited to 𝐂𝐻𝐽's physical and sexual assaults, harassment, and unlawful imprisonment of plaintiff in New York City, constitutes a crime of violence against plaintiff and is a crime of violence motivated by gender, as defined in the New York City Code 10-1103. The term crime of violence means an act or series of acts that would constitute a misdemeanor or felony against a person as defined in state or federal law if the conduct presents a serious risk of physical injury to another. Whether or not those acts have actually resulted in criminal charges, prosecution, or conviction. And the term quote-unquote crime of violence motivated by gender means a crime of violence committed because of gender or on the basis of gender and due, at least in part, to an animus based on victim's gender. The above conduct of 𝐂𝐻𝐽, including but not limited to sexual assault, physical assault, threats, and false imprisonment, all conduct proscribed by PL, and it gives a bunch of codes for New York, constitutes a crime of violence against plaintiff and is a crime of violence motivated by gender as defined in Code 10-1103. Sean Combs, LLC, and all the bad boy entities and others have financially and otherwise benefited from these acts and omissions by keeping defendant 𝐂𝐻𝐽, the volatile and explosive owner of Bad Boy Records, satisfied and benefited from facilitating this behavior. Specifically, co-defendants enabled, condoned, and had knowledge of and failed to act or prevent or mitigate defendant 𝐂𝐻𝐽's commission of the above-mentioned crimes of violence motivated by gender and therefore are also liable under the 𝐵GM-VLP. Pursuant to Code 10-1105, the cause of action is timely because it is commenced within 2 years and 6 months after September 1st, 2022. As a direct and proximate result of the above-mentioned crimes of violence and gender-motivated violence, plaintiff has sustained and will continue to sustain monetary damages and/or economic harm, physical injury, pain and suffering, and serious psychological and emotional distress, entitling her to an award of compensatory and punitive damages, injunctive and declaratory relief, attorney's fees and costs, and other remedies as this court may deem appropriate. Plaintiff seeks actual damages, punitive damages as allowed by law, attorney's laws and costs, and/or in the alternative to actual damages and statutory damages. Are we freaking out? Like, Diddy, we knew you were dirty, but I believe it. I believe all of it. Hey, 𝐻𝐿, thanks for being here. Hey, Stella, appreciate you for being here. Oh, thank you, Stella. Melly's hair looks really pretty. Like, Melly had no time to get ready. I was about to go work out, and then I saw this tea, and I was like, girl, we gotta go report on this real quick. I appreciate the comment, Stella. Moving on. Second cause of action. Plaintiff incorporates the allegations within all prior paragraphs within this complaint as if they were fully set forth herein. As described herein, defendant 𝐂𝐻𝐽 frightened and placed Jane Doe in apprehension of harm when he forced and coerced Jane Doe to engage in sexual acts without her consent. 𝐂𝐻𝐽's home in Miami, Florida, Los Angeles, California, and others described herein. 𝐂𝐻𝐽 used illicit drugs and alcohol to compel plaintiff into engaging in sex acts without her consent. 𝐂𝐻𝐽 recorded sexual encounters with Jane Doe without her permission. Upon information, and belief, 𝐂𝐻 touched plaintiff's intimate areas and engaged in sexual acts with plaintiff, was unconscious from forced narcotics used by defendant 𝐂𝐻. As a result, 𝐂𝐻's conduct, plaintiff has suffered and continues to suffer harm, including physical injury, severe emotional distress, humiliation, anxiety, and other consequential damages for which she is entitled to an award of monetary damages and other relief. Defendant 𝐂𝐻 described herein was willful, wanton, and malicious. Oh, malicious is right. At all relevant times, 𝐂𝐻 acted with conscious disregard for the plaintiff's rights and feelings, acted with the knowledge of or with reckless disregard for the fact that his conduct was sure to cause injury and humiliation to Jane Doe, and intended to cause fear, physical injury, and or pain suffering to Jane Doe. Jane Doe believes defendant 𝐂𝐻 acted with conscious disregard for her rights and feelings, acted with the knowledge of or with reckless disregard for the fact that his conduct was sure to cause injury and or humiliation to plaintiff due to plaintiff's gender. By virtue and foregoing, plaintiff is entitled to recover punitive damages. Plaintiff incorporates the allegations within all paragraphs within this complaint as they were fully set forth herein. 𝐂𝐻 created an unreasonable risk of causing emotional distress to Jane Doe, and 𝐂𝐻 knew or should have known that such conduct is likely to result in emotional distress that might and or likely would cause illness or bodily harm. Defendants knew at the time that they made their misrepresentations and omissions that they were false. Plaintiff's emotional distress was foreseeable to defendants. By reason of their reliance on defendants' misrepresentations and omissions of material fact, plaintiff and his residents suffered actual pecuniary damage. As a direct and proximate result of the negligent conduct of defendant 𝐂𝐻, Jane Doe suffered and will continue to suffer severe emotional distress. As a direct and proximate result of the above negligence, plaintiff has sustained and will continue to sustain monetary damages and or economic harm, physical injury, pain and suffering, and serious psychological and emotional distress, entitling her to an award of compensatory and punitive damages, injunctive and declaratory relief, attorney fees and costs, and other remedies as this court may deem appropriate. Jane Doe seeks actual damages, punitive damages as allowed by law, attorney's fees, cost, and or in the alternative to actual damages and statutory damages. Let me check in with you guys. Are you guys good? Hey Lynette, nice to see you. Glad to have you here. Welcome. Welcome to my channel. Hey Dee Dee, good to see you. Patronus, hi love. Hi Gracie, appreciate you for being here. Moving on. We're getting to this pretty quick because, girl, I just wanted to know the tea. Plaintiff incorporates the allegations within all the prior paragraphs within this complaint as they were fully set forth herein. Defendant 𝐂𝐻 engaged in conduct toward plaintiff that is extreme and outrageous to exceed the bounds of decency in a civilized society, namely by inter alia subjecting him to sexual assault and misconduct. The sexual assault, trafficking, and misconduct by 𝐂𝐻 were extreme and outrageous conduct that shocks the conscience. These actions were taken with the intent to cause or disregard for the substantial probability of causing severe emotional distress. As a direct and proximate result of 𝐂𝐻's extreme and outrageous conduct, plaintiff has suffered emotional distress. 𝐂𝐻's conduct was wanton, malice, willful, and or cruel, entitling the plaintiff to punitive damages. Plaintiff incorporates the allegation within all paragraphs with this complaint as if they were fully set forth herein. In engaging in the conduct described above, defendant 𝐂𝐻 committed an assault against Jane Doe because he intentionally placed Jane Doe in reasonable apprehension of imminent harm or offensive contact, and plaintiff reasonably feared immediate bodily harm as a result of defendant's conduct. 𝐂𝐻's actions amount to violations under New York penal law, as well as analogous California law, Florida law, and the common laws of New York, California, and Florida. Defendant Bad Boy Records has financially and otherwise benefited from these acts and omissions by keeping defendant 𝐂𝐻, the volatile and explosive owner of Bad Boy Records, satisfied and benefited from his facilitating behavior. As a direct proximate result of defendant's actions, plaintiff has sustained and will continue to sustain monetary damages and or economic harm, physical injury, pain and suffering, and serious psychological and emotional distress. The conduct of Combs described above was willful, wanton, and malicious. At all relevant times, Combs acted with conscious disregard of Jane Doe's rights and feelings, acted with the knowledge and of or with the reckless disregard for the fact that his conduct was certain to cause injury and humiliation to Jane Doe and intended to cause fear, physical injury, and or pain and suffering to Jane Doe. By virtue of the foregoing, Jane Doe is entitled to recover pecuniary and exemplary damages from defendant Combs according to proof at trial. Ooh, we knew Duty was shady. I believe it. I know everyone's like, tomato, we don't know what to believe until we're in a courtroom. I highly believe that. I encourage courtrooms. I like that legal stuff. I have been in various courtrooms myself. I have filed multiple lawsuits. That's like a Melly stuff, but I really believe this. It's not any different than what we've heard from Cassie, Dawn, Aubrey O'Day, and the recent one, Talia, right? Let's continue. Plaintiff incorporates the allegations within all prior paragraphs within this complaint as if they were fully set forth herein. And engaging in the conduct described above, defendant Combs committed a battery against plaintiff because he intentionally engaged in unlawful, intentional, and offensive touching or application of force to Jane Doe's person. Combs repeatedly and without consent touched Jane Doe's body without her consent. Defendant's actions amount to violations under New York Penal Code and as well as analogous Florida, California laws and common laws of New York, Florida, and California. Defendant Bad Boy Records has financially and otherwise benefited from these acts and omissions by keeping defendant Combs, the volatile owner and explosive owner of Bad Boy Records, satisfied and benefited from his facilitating behavior. As direct and proximate result of his actions, plaintiff has sustained and will sustain, I think I already read this, monetary damages or economic harm, physical injury, pain, and suffering, and serious psychological and emotional distress. The above described conduct by defendant Combs was willful, wanton, and malicious. Combs acted with conscious disregard of Jane Doe's right feelings and acted with the knowledge of or with reckless disregard for the fact that his conduct was certain to cause injury and or humiliation to Jane Doe and intended to cause fear, physical injury, and or pain, suffering to Jane Doe. Combs incorporates the allegations within all prior paragraphs within this complaint as if they were fully set forth herein. Oh, let me switch the page. And engaging in the conduct described above by tampering with Jane Doe's cellular phone and or other electronic devices for purposes of surreptitious monitoring of plaintiff's locations, conversations, activities, and harassing and controlling Jane Doe, defendants knowingly and willfully tampered with a consumer product. What? Defendants' actions amount to violations under New York Penal Code as well as Florida, California, New York Penal Codes. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's actions, plaintiff has sustained and will continue to sustain monetary damages and or economic harm, physical injury, suffering, psychological, and emotional distress. Plaintiff incorporates the allegations within all prior paragraphs within this complaint as they were fully forth set in. In engaging in the conduct described above by tampering with Jane Doe's cellular phone or other electronic devices and installing tracking and recording software, hardware, or programs for purposes of surreptitious monitoring of plaintiff's locations and conversations and activities and harassing and controlling the plaintiff, defendants knowingly and willfully engaged in unlawful surveillance. On her own devices and in her home, Jane Doe had a reasonable expectation of privacy, which was violated by defendants. Combs surveilled Jane Doe without her knowledge or consent in an effort to further the sexual control and abuse perpetrated by Combs. Defendant and actions amount to violations under New York penal law as well as Florida, New York, California, etc. As a direct result of defendant's actions, she will continue to sustain monetary damages. Plaintiff demands a jury trial on all claims and issues as permitted by law. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff demands judgment against defendants jointly and severely as to all causes of actions, awarding plaintiff in amounts likely to exceed all lower courts. A. Compensatory damages in amount sufficient to fairly and completely compensate plaintiff for all damages past and future. B. Treble damages, penalties, costs, and attorney's fees. C. Punitive damages. D. Interest, costs, and disbursements. E. Entering judgment in favor of the plaintiff in a final order against each of the defendants. Wherefore, plaintiff prays that the court then judgment in their favor against defendants and award compensatory damages, attorney's fees, costs, and any other relief deemed proper. Dated September 26, 2024, Melville, New York. What do you guys think? I mean, did I read too fast? You guys are like, what? You're like, are you talking Spanish, Melly? That was pretty fast. We got through it pretty quick. It was like 18 pages, but what do you guys think? I mean, I just don't want to. What's up, life artists? We read through it. We got it. You want it? Email me. My email's on my YouTube page if you want this document. We just read through the entire thing. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about Jane Doe? I'm curious. I mean, we got through that pretty quick. I'm impressed. Am I just too fast and you don't understand what I'm saying? Gracie says, so crazy. I thought 2012 was 42. She said, yeah, this is wild. And the fact it came into June and July of this year, I'm like, oof. I don't know, you guys. We all know it's drama. It's crazy on the YouTube streets right now with this Diddy stuff. Thank you, Patronus, for linking my email. I appreciate you very much. Stella, is there only one from Jane Doe? Yes, this is the only one that has come out today. I know there's been quite a few, and I'm sure probably on Monday there'll probably be a new one. I feel like I was big in the 90s with Biggie and Tupac and Diddy, so I feel like there's a lot of victims, and I feel like we all know a lot of celebrities have yet to speak out. I think everyone's getting ahead of it. In my opinion, I think a lot of these celebrities that were involved with Diddy are getting ahead of it and will probably get away with it. Hey, Johnny, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. He is a sicko. This is crazy. I'm curious who Jane Doe is. She's a business owner, entrepreneur, and model who resides in the state of Florida. Interesting. And it was filed yesterday by attorneys 𝐿 Schlonknick, complaining of the defendant's respectful alleges upon information and belief. So that's who her attorney is. So hey, the tea is hot. Hey, Stephanie, good to see you. Hey, Guidance. Being this is the most recent as this past July, right? Yes, Stella, we will see more. I think we will definitely see more. I believe it's the 11th or 12th complaint against Diddy. So I'm curious to see what happens. So we read through it. I wanted to just come on here and read through it, show it. If you want it, let me know, email me. I don't mind sharing. I shared it with another creator that I mod for this morning. I won't gatekeep. Y'all can have it, even if I paid a couple dollars for it. Her name is a Florida city too. Oh, Guidance. Oh, oh, wait. Guidance, you think that this is Young Miami? I feel like if this was Young Miami, honey, this complaint would be like 6,542 pages. Young Miami has been involved with Diddy. I'm totally thinking Young Miami. You do guidance, right? Okay, okay. I feel those vibes. I can see it being Young Miami, but like I said, I feel like she knows way more than this. This is not, I feel like her complaint should be very long. Not, not that I hope that she was like, abused or anything, but I feel like she's been around for a lot longer than just 18 pages of complaints. So I bet he's scared now of Poop Diddy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like money and power can buy a lot. I hope he doesn't get away with any of it. I allegedly, in my opinion, this channel is all fair use purposes. Nothing is legal, nothing is certain. It's all my opinion, allegedly, hearsay, thought, etc. I think he is responsible for the death of Aaliyah, the death of Tupac, and the death of Biggie. That's just what I think. What do you think? I'm curious. July, Florida, etc. If there is more can always be tacked back to. In my opinion, that's why trial is so important. Stated above, more to come. I think this trial is going to be crazy. And I think that's why we're only seeing limited things. Yes, you're right, guidance. I agree with you. I think we're limited on what we're seeing because a lot of it will come out in court. I don't know how this trial is going to be. I feel like it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be like who's going to be there, who's not going to be there. We don't get to see it because it's a federal court. Who's drawing the pictures? What is really going on? Are they paying the court system off? I don't know. Allegedly, things happen. I don't put it past anyone in the position of power to pay someone off, etc. Even judges, even lawyers. I'm not here to bag on them. I respect them. I love them. I actually have a lawyer on call all the time that I have been working with recently on personal stuff. But I feel like some people might stay quiet, Patronus, he's in jail. Yeah, he is in jail, but I feel like the power he has and the people he has working for him and all of that play like a big role, right? Like Diddy can pay someone off, even being behind bars. That's nothing. He can be doing a lot of stuff from inside bars, and I don't know, a federal prison, but at least in California, regular jails, you get a tablet, you get all the phone time you want, all the showers you want. You can request special meals. I mean, I don't know what federal prison is like, but we'll see. Stella says, yes, money talks in the world. Absolutely. So we read through the indictment or complaint. If you want it, email me. Just let me know. Hey, Melly, I saw your live. Can I get it? I'll send it to you. It was 18 pages. We got through it in about 30 minutes. If I talk too fast, you guys need to let me know because this is how my mind thinks. So I just move in that pace. Guidance says, yep, exactly. My fear for these victims is paid retaliation. Absolutely. They need to keep eyes on him 24/7 so he's not Epstein. Right, Patronus. I agree. Will Diddy suddenly disappear? Will he? Yep, exactly. Fear. Oh yeah, you already read that. Okay, cool. All right, so we got through this new complaint. We'll see which complaint comes out on Monday and from who, and I'm sure we'll get it on here. This is wild. This is wild. We're actually living through Diddy being arrested and in federal prison in 2024. For those of you who have followed Bad Boy, that's crazy. It's crazy. I appreciate you guys all for being here. We just read through the document. We had some conversation. I will be back on later today. If you've been following my channel, we've been doing a series on Ashley Bocanegra. I will be here to do part 5, and I also want to read another complaint / indictment from a different rapper earlier this year that I feel like maybe we should like brush up on. I'm like, the similarities, is it a coincidence that this rapper got charged in May and now Diddy in August, September? I don't know. They're connected. So although it is a couple months old complaint, May 2024, I do want to go over it. So stay tuned. We're going to be go over that indictment. We're going to be doing Ashley. And then I have a couple more other things planned for this weekend. So you will be seeing my face. Make sure to turn on the notifications, subscribe, like it, please. We're a small family here. And that's okay with me. I like it that way. We have good, loyal people here. Thanks for being here, life artist. Gracie on the mic. Guidance. Glad you made it. Thanks for being here. Patronus, amazing. Stephanie. Yeah, what did he do to Aaliyah allegedly? In my opinion, allegedly, I think he set that up. If you go deep in the web of Aaliyah and you've been a big fan, you'll find some stuff. Message me and I'll send you this video that I was watching this morning about Aaliyah and the plane crash she had, and the events prior to that. It is from a reliable source. I don't know. A part of me thinks he had a lot to do with that. Aaliyah was on the up and coming, and she had a lot of ties with Beyonce, and she had a lot of ties with Jay-Z and Diddy. And I feel like she knew a lot. Yeah, I'll send it to you, Stephanie. I think you emailed me, so I'll email it to you. Yeah, guidance thinks the same. You're like, yeah, Aaliyah. Definitely Pac and Biggie, right? And I thought it was not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences, but I believe Tupac passed away on September 13th, and then the prior indictment for Diddy came out on like the 16th or 17th. So if you want to talk about like timing and stuff, it's interesting. Melly, I have complaints. I'm sure we can do a Melly. Yeah, we're doing a Melly after dark. It's Friday night. Melly's feeling spicy. I might just go out and get some Mexican food and get like a little drink and come back here and be like, let's do a Melly after dark. You're like, please no. Anyways, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you guys. Let me know if you want this document. I'll email it to you. Patronus linked my email in the chat. And again, I appreciate you guys for being here. We just reviewed the Diddy document that just was released. Well, it was released this morning, but it was filed yesterday on 9/26. So let's keep our eye on this Diddy stuff. Thanks, Stella, for being here. Let's keep an eye on this Diddy stuff, see who's next. And I'm sure it'll be all over the internet. Hi, Lily. Thanks for being here. I know you're working. And I'll see you guys in a few hours for another true crime live, and then we're gonna do Melly After Dark. So again, I appreciate you for being here, and I will be seeing you guys soon.